Thank you for joining me for this heart to soul reflection. And the theme is on risking everything. But first, do we know our Master? Do we know God as the gracious giver of all blessings, entrusting to us the necessary gifts for an abundant and joy-filled life? Or are we, as the New England preacher Jonathan Edwards used to say, merely sinners in the hands of an angry God? Do we of ourselves, as co-creators with God, using our gifts to be God's loving arms in the world, no matter the risk or the cost? Or are we fearful and timid, afraid to risk losing what little we think we have, and expecting a capricious and punitive God to swoop in to punish and rebuke? Know the Master makes a lot of difference in how we live our lives as believers. This is the way Jesus lived his life. This theme, that life is to be given, spent, invested, not held onto, runs through his life and ministry. As Jesus said, if anyone wishes to become a follower of mine, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world but forfeits his life? Take up your cross, risk your life, take a chance on losing whatever you fear losing the most, and follow me, says the cosmic Christ. It's just about life's big decisions. It's also about taking risks with simple day-to-day things. It's a risk to make a phone call or write a note to someone you're angry with, someone who's hurt you badly and who battered your ego big time. It's a risk to visit a friend who's sick or dying because you might be embarrassed at not knowing what to say, what words to use. It's a risk to discipline a child fairly and consistently. You might fear losing the child's love. It's a risk to confront a spouse, a friend, or a co-worker about an unspoken but ever-present problem. You might lose the facade of peace and harmony. It's a risk to join the AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, or go for counseling, to get into therapy, to face your own demons courageously, to be a member of the Teo community of Interfaith Franciscans. You might fail and have to start all over again from scratch, more hopeless than before. What I've learned in my life, and perhaps it squares with what you've learned in yours, is that abundant and joyful life rarely accompanies playing it safe. The life we've been given by God is treasure to be invested, not to be possessed, to be risked, rather than to be buried in the ground or hidden under a mattress. The writer of Psalm 23, who proclaims, "My cup runneth over," has found that joy only after walking through the valley of the shadow of death. Each of us must decide whether we'll invest our lives or squirrel them away. The good news is we are not alone. When we take that risk and when we find ourselves in the valley of the shadow of death, we will be comforted and sustained. Do you believe that? I do. Though it's taken me half a century to come to terms with that, where less is more, and where surrendering the heart to God is not about losing control of your life. It's about investing your life in divine love. As Bishop Barbara Harris is fond of saying, the power behind you is greater than the risk before you. When we're in the desert, we can count on the manna from God. What, my dear friends, are those words saying to your heart? What do you sense is being shared by the Divine Spirit to your heart right now? But our lives, like the bottle of water and the talents in the parable, are to be invested, risked, not possessed. The unnerving and frightening message of the story of the talents is that not only will there come an accounting for how we have lived our lives, but also whatever reward or punishment for the life we lead begins now, today, this minute, this moment. If we bury our treasure underground or put it in a sock under the mattress, we won't find much that's invigorating and enlivening in our lives. And the world that so desperately needs us and needs God's love will remain in need. Or we can stake our whole being on life as something to be risked, to be invested, something we can win only if we're willing to lose it. And in the process, we'll probably find that there is only one in the risking and giving of ourselves that we're invited into the joy of the Master and the abundant life he promises. It's about trust, isn't it? We can risk everything, but God doesn't call us to gamble our life away. He calls us to invest the talents, the gifts that we have been given. And each one of us has a unique talent. It may be our smile. It may be our words. It may be some practical hands-on gifts, like being able to mend a broken stool, repair a broken window, replace a light bulb. Each one of us who are incarnated here on this beautiful earth did not come without the talents, the gifts, or the wisdom. It is my belief that they were impregnated in our soul's DNA. But when we came to this beautiful earth, we entered a third-dimensional energy, deeply negative and destructive, argumentative, not liberating. And as beings of light, we've had to work our way through this dense fog, so to speak, so that we can find who we are as a child of love. Some of us have built brick walls around our heart because of being bullied at school or in kindergarten. And some remain in adult life with those brick walls around them, stifling them. And when you meet with them, would you say they looked happy individuals? No. It's as if they carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. They look despondent. They dress shabbily. They've lost an interest in how they look. And their interior castle, their soul, has a sign on the door saying, "Beware, do not enter at your peril." And I found that in my life, both as a nurse and as a monk. You meet beautiful people. Some will allow you come close, and others, through their body language, give you a clear signal to be on your guard. Don't come near. But I never walk away. For me, that's a challenge. But yes, I would respect the person's choice not to approach them, but I would begin sending them love, light and blessing, and hold them to my heart in prayer. And I witnessed this a lot as a senior nurse in palliative care, caring for the dying in hospital and in their own home. You could always tell who lived an abundant life, because as death approached, there was an inner peace, an inner acceptance. But if they lived an ungodly life, forgive the term ungodly, but if they lived a wicked life of self-centeredness and caring only for uno, their death was always inevitably rather unpleasant. Whatever medication we gave to ease the discomfort, nothing worked, because there was an internal battle. And often I would take time to sit with them. It may take several nights, but I wouldn't give up. And by holding their hand, I would allow the gift of touch, the healing touch, and the quiet prayers being said to flow through them, to give them an opportunity to open up. There is no such thing as an evil person. Saddam Hussein wasn't born evil, nor was Mussolini or any of the tyrants that we're familiar with in history, like Stalin. Yes, they did terrible things, but they were born a beautiful child of God, and they exercised their choice like Hitler. And you and I have a choice today. Do we risk everything for God? Or do we risk everything for self-adulation? We might sometimes be envious of those who appear to have everything material the world could give them. But are they happy? Are they secure? Well, if they were, why do they have to have so many security guards? And why is it that when you try to enter their home, it's like getting into Fort Knox? And yet you could meet some ordinary couple in the Gorbals of Glasgow who have nothing, and yet will invite you to a meal. They'll scrape something together. They will share. They will risk everything in hospitality. Let us reflect. Father, Mother God, you have called each one of us by name. You have carved each one of us on the palm of your hand. Give each one of us the courage this day to listen to that inner voice of spirit that says, "Come, surrender your heart to freedom, to love." And I invite you now, using your gift of free will, to call on your God, Goddess, whoever you believe in, to come to you, to speak with you, to caress your battle-weary heart. And whatever it is that troubles you, name it, shame it, bless it, and release it to the light. And in a spirit of mindfulness, show gratitude to your God, Goddess. Take a deep breath and now release and experience the healing touch of Mother Earth and the Mother of God. Reclaim your divinity as a child of God by putting your trust not in what you think you know, but in what that inner voice is saying to your heart, your teacher. The heart is the gateway to your soul, and the soul is the gateway to your God, Goddess, or Nirvana. Be strong. Take back your power. Risk everything for divine love. Namaste. Shalom. Inshallah paxet bonum. Om Shanti. Solo di Caritas. Salam alaikum. And may the peace of the supreme loving God alienate you from fear